get to other speakers, we'll ask we'll please invite the National Coordinator, CEO, Center for Peace and Environmental Justice, to quickly give us a welcome remark. Thank you.
Oh, we can hear him.
Hello.
Okay. We can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. Once again, I welcome all of you to this important day. Today, the importance of today cannot be overemphasized. Therefore, on behalf of the Center for Peace and Environmental Justice, the management, board, and patron, I welcome all of you. I also want to seize this opportunity to thank and appreciate all our guest speakers for today. I think one of them have done justice to the topic. She has read the statement from the Secretary General of the United Nations, and it is important that we must work for peace. We must believe in peace. We must develop in peace so that we can achieve those desires that peace will bring for us. Because without peace, no meaningful development can take place. Recently, the world has been ravaged by the coronavirus, and the entire world is working, fighting this invisible disease that is ravaging the world. So it is important for all of us to collaborate, to network, to see that we nip these challenges on the board. Therefore, it is important that I congratulate all of us on this important day. And I wish all of us a successful. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, comrade sir. Actually, it's the chief Sheriff Mulade. Thank you so much, sir, for that welcome remark. Very quickly, we would go to our partner organization. We've been partnering with them since 2018, and we will continue the partnership, God willing, as time goes on. I'm speaking about the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. We have Ms. Neka Ike-Liongu, who is a senior research fellow, and she's going to be talking to us about the theme, Shaping Peace Together, IPCR interventions across the country and opportunities for collaboration. So, Madam, please, you can go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nafisa, and thank you for CEPEJ for this opportunity to address potential partners and already partners on the issue of shaping peace together. I'd like to stand on existing protocol and recognize the presence of the representative of the coordinator of the UN system, the resident coordinator in Nigeria, and all the other dignitaries that are here present. The IPCR is mandated to conduct in-depth research on root causes of conflict. It's particularly apt to point that out now because every time, day by day, we realize how far-reaching conflict is, how far-reaching peace is. And we've gone past the days of when peace was regarded as the absence of war, and we've gone to we're now at the point where almost every facet of life can be is related to peace. So in these special times, especially, a lot of things were emphasized to a greater extent than before, such as the cross-disciplinary nature of peace, cross-disciplinary nature of access to basic things like health, information, in the sense that it can impact on peace impact on development, impact on several other issues in the world. So I'm going to address this particular presentation under a couple of headings. Then I'll discuss the work that IPCR does under each heading, and then I will also maybe highlight, or the discussion will highlight some of the challenges and prospects for future work. So first of all, the pandemic, like I said, has brought to fore a lot of other issues that across the world, not just in Nigeria, issues that would not normally be tied to peace, but we have found that they are. One of the issues that we faced in Nigeria as regards the COVID-19 pandemic was the fact that access to health can be seen as or lack thereof, can be seen as a potential cause for conflict. Now in Nigeria, we didn't have a lot of violence as regards lack of access to health. One of the reasons is because we were somewhat more prepared than we thought we would be to handle the pandemic. But there were lots of issues discussed around the world about how people would react if they did not have equal access to health. And like one of the earlier speakers pointed out, the pandemic has brought to fore a lot of lapses in social amenities in the country. It brought to light in Nigeria, for instance, the lack of, not inadequacy of our health systems. And there was quite a bit of worry as to how the health systems will manage if we had the numbers that some other countries outside Africa mainly, some other countries had in terms of number of people infected, and how the health system will bear the burden, and how it might affect other aspects of life in Nigeria. And that brings us to other issues such as the effect of the steps that were taken by the federal government to address the situation, and how some of them had potentially negative impacts on, negative impact on peace. So there's the fact that some of the steps necessarily, but nonetheless, went against human rights provisions, and how some of the steps affected the livelihoods of some of Nigerians, and how in some countries there were pockets of violence in some places where it was said that people had gone onto the streets and were maybe attacking people and asking for money, or where it wasn't, it's not something that might have ordinarily been foreseen as a consequence of a health pandemic, but it speaks to the interdisciplinary, the cross-disciplinary nature of everything right now. From elections, we've gotten issues of peace that arise from environment, and the IPCR has done a lot of work in those regards. We have done, we're currently doing some work on climate change and the effects on cross-border communities in some different parts of Nigeria. Again, we have budgetary constraints, but as far as budget allows, we intend to carry out these studies in every single, in fact, if possible, every single community in Nigeria where such issues might arise. I'd like to take us back a minute to one of our core projects in Nigeria, which is our strategic conflict assessment permits a visit to communities in Nigeria. We go into the grassroots as far as what the root causes are. We try and identify what the triggers might be, and we try and identify what the generational, in the sense that a community, for instance, or even families within communities can be in conflict with people that they are not entirely sure, they're not, the particular parties that are in conflict at a particular time are not the original parties, if you like, of the conflict. They just inherit generational bad faith. Any solution that you prefer would only address the current manifestations, if you like, and the bad law will remain and continue. The area will continue to be vulnerable. And so, in terms of cross-generational effects of conflict, IPCR does work as regards upon invitation of particular communities, or when there's a vital issue, and while we're tracing the root cause, we identify there's a transgenerational aspect. We try to engage with everybody, including the youth and the elders of the community, in the bid to ascertain exactly how particular conflict dynamics affect the community members across generations. Then we also, the pandemic especially has also highlighted the cross-country nature of the pandemic. I'm sure I don't need to talk a lot about that. We heard a lot about how, first of all, the pandemic was, that pandemic spread across the world. We had a couple of issues as regards restrictions on travel, border closures between neighboring countries and all that. And so it showed that, just as the UN has always said, the world is one place. What affects country A could in terms of conflict especially, could inevitably affect country B, and so forth and so on. And then as well as cross-country implications, there's obviously the inter-country or intra-country implications of peace issues. So that from state to state, just like in Nigeria, we had our index case in one state, and before we knew it, the virus had spread. Just that's the same way peace issues could also spread. Another dimension that was highlighted by or sort of made us start thinking in terms of the pandemic was the cross-gender implications, peace implications of some of the things that happened. We had issues such as particular issues that affected particular gender. We had we had higher incidence of sexual-based violence in Nigeria, some studies have said that have sort of tied them to the pandemic and the peculiar nature of the situation that people found themselves in, including economic hardship and others. So as regards these areas that I've pointed out, IPCR does a lot of work. In terms of the gender aspect, we always look to find particular gender implications of conflict issues, so that when it's time to, we advise the government on policy, so that when it's time to prefer advice, write policy briefs, analyze policies, we make sure that the gender aspect is mainstreamed into whatever it is we're preferring. And as regards to cross-country, we strive to remain abreast of conflict dynamics across the country, as far as possible on a community level. Because it's not a peace is not a one-size-fits-all situation, if you like. And so we try to tailor particular policy advice based on what we know about particular communities. And like I'd said earlier, sometimes we have budgetary constraints, we have other constraints, movement, mobility, accessibility to particular communities. And we're always looking for opportunities to enable us best, and it will ensure for peace in Nigeria, Africa, and the world at large. I'm going to leave it at this for now, because I think I've been told that I'm running out of time. And I'm hoping that today, and that whatever it is we come up with today would pave the way for greater, a better, more efficient, more effective journey towards ensuring peace together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Neka. Very, very insightful presentation. What I took from what you said, is that we have a lot of issues that are bordering around peace building in Nigeria. And also you highlighted some of the works that the IPCR is doing. And I'm also hoping that we have participants amongst us, CSOs, other CSOs who are also working to build peace in the country and in Africa at large. We've heard that for the IPCR, there are opportunities for assessing communities. So communities under the program of strategic conflict assessment, which the IPCR does once in 3 years, and also the current project on climate change, the effect on cross-border communities. So these are things that we are hopefully going to be looking at more after today's program. So very quickly, we would want to invite to talk to us on something else that also borders around peace building in our country. So representing the country director of the United Nations Office on Drug and Crimes, we have Mr. Musa Alim, who is with us today, and he's going to be talking to us about countering terrorism, impacts on peace building. Mr. Musa, please go ahead. The floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me on this webinar. I would like, on behalf of UNODC Country Representative Mr. Oliver Stolf, to thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share our thought with you on this auspicious day of International Day of Peace. UNODC, as noted with nostalgia, the great stride Center for Peace and Environmental Justice is making in Nigeria, especially the provision of that beautiful edifice to one of the most important units of the Nigeria Police. You will understand the impact we are making on peace building by highlighting to you what UNODC is doing and how we are doing it. Are you with me? Hello? Hello, are you with me?
We are with you.
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Alim. But please let the host mute those who are, there are people who are just...
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we'll do that now.
Okay, thank you. As you could remember, in 2014, 2015, there was upsurge of terrorism in Nigeria, especially in the Northeast. So UNODC through EU in Nigeria, UNODC to counter-terrorism program, phase 1 and phase 2. UNODC started providing support to Nigerian government and its various relevant ministries and agencies effectively against terrorism. Although this assistance is in line with relevant United Nations Security Council resolution, conventions, protocols, and UN Global Counterterrorism Strategy. At the peak of the insurgency, we thought it wise to enlarge our intervention through phase 3 of our program on countering terrorism and violent extremism, as funded by European Union. UNODC is working closely with Nigerian government to strengthen rule of law-based criminal justice response. As you could remember, around that period, there were so many allegations against our security agencies of human rights violations. So we thought it wise, we should now enlarge our interventions to include counterterrorism, countering violent extremism, and human rights abuse through the delivery of capacity building support to law enforcement officials, legal advisors, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges. We provide technical assistance to policymakers on legal and policy framework related to terrorism. And we work with local partners such as state ministries, civil society organizations, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, traditional institutions in the Northeast to prevent and counter violent extremism. We promote interagency collaboration on counterterrorism matters to enhance national legal regime against terrorism, to strengthen international cooperation against terrorism and ensure peace and ensure respect for human rights. Our partners, we work with other partners in Nigeria, who includes, among others, the Nigeria Office of National Security Agencies, the Federal Ministry of Justice, Department of State Security Service, Nigeria Police Force, the Federal High Court, National Judicial Institute, the Nigerian Bar Association, Nigerian Institute of Legal Studies, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, as well as Defense Headquarters, to mention just a few. In 2017, UNODC, in partnership with built knowledge on gender dimension in criminal justice response to terrorism. This was, of course, just as if we knew, it's in preparation of, during this COVID-19, there is what they call the pandemic, shadow pandemic, with the rise in this abuse on gender. We've been delivering training on workshops on gender dimension across Nigeria for National Association of Women Judges, which included strengthening accountability for gender and sexual-based violence. We organized 2 train-the-trainer workshops on criminal justice practitioners and for the DSS on how to strengthen their capacity to provide trainings on gender dimension on terrorism cases. Specifically in the Northeast, our project has been supporting the deployment of Federal Ministry of Justice Complex Case Group. Complex Case Group prosecutors were supported by the UNODC to have access to JIC, that is Joint Investigation Center in Maiduguri, to review terrorism case files and to advise the JIC on specific modifications that could be made to strengthen their processes for human rights compliant investigation and preparation of case files for the prosecution of persons suspected of terrorism. The project has also, in the beginning of this year, provided support towards the deployment of 31 Legal Aid Council of Nigerian defense lawyers to the JIC to conduct pre-trials interviews with terrorism suspects in furtherance of their right to fair hearing and trials. A series of joint military police DSS capacity building. A series of joint military police DSS capacity building training on collection and preservation of evidence in the field was held in Northeast Nigeria. As a result of that, participants gained enhanced understanding of key concepts and processes of terrorism investigation and improved their skills in collection and preservation of evidence for terrorism at terrorism crime scenes. Participants also gained exposure to international best practices on counterterrorism investigations and improved cooperation between the military police and the DSS. The Nigerian police force and the military have been trained in the use of Calibrate machine. Calibrate machine is a forensic tool that is used for destruction of evidence-based materials that could be left at the scene of crime or that could be found on electronic data. We have some of our officers trained in this regard. Due to COVID-19 pandemic and in line with UN policy directives, especially the need to observe social distance protocols, UNODC has now suspended in-person training courses and has now shifted its capacity building on activities to virtual delivery platforms. As I speak to you now, we have about 20 legal advisors from the Nigeria Police who are undergoing online training on some aspect of procedural skills and human rights compliant prosecution. We have a number of activities lined up for our security forces before the end of this year to further enhance their skills in investigation, case management, and intelligence analysis. This will no doubt deepen their skills and knowledge to effectively counter and prevent violent extremism in Nigeria. For sustainability, UNODC has trained and mentored many officers from our training institutions of the DSS and NPF who could further cascade the same skills we are giving them to other officers in their agencies. To facilitate that, UNODC has a number of training modules specifically designed for use in Nigeria. We have provided technical guide on preventing violent extremism through sports. We equally provided strengthening women's role in counterterrorism. We have other modules on training on gender dimension of criminal justice. In November 2019, we published and provided all the training institutions of the DSS and the police a training handbook on counterterrorism investigation. At the beginning of the pandemic, we thought it is wise to provide Nigeria Police to empower them with knowledge. So we provided them with many thousand copies of guidelines for policing during COVID-19 outbreak. Equally, we provided information for people in our correctional centers to empower them on how to protect themselves. UNODC is currently working on a compendium of counterterrorism legislations and other related laws to be used as a tool for training and reference for the justice responders. These are a few things we are doing. We have equally developed for community-oriented policing framework for the use by the Nigeria Police because of its policy implementation of community policing in Nigeria. I want to use this medium to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share our thought with you. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Mr. Musa. You gave a very detailed is currently there's no gains. I also got information, I'm sure, as well as other participants or listeners on this webinar. Gotten information about your current partners with regards to your security, counter-terrorism and violence and extremism, where you mentioned CBOs, you mentioned the NSA, Ministry of Justice, as well as the Nigerian Bar Association. Hopefully, amongst the CBOs and other agencies, we'll get persons that would be able to also assist in that regard. And I also hope that this new bill that was signed by the president recently, alongside the training that you're having for the Nigerian police, would help us to get better policing outcomes. We'll be moving on to our next speaker. That is from the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. Now, our speakers were specially selected today because we understand that for us to have peaceful outcomes as a country, as a continent at large, we need to work together. And in different pockets, we have different organizations and agencies that are currently in their own way carrying on intervention and activities that are helping to change the peace narrative in Nigeria, especially. So that is why we are getting from the NSCDC, somebody who is in a special unit of peace building and gender initiatives, who is going to speak to us on what they are doing and possible areas of collaboration. He's a Superintendent Idoko Samuel Ali Chenu please, the floor is yours now. You can come on and tell us more about what you're doing with regards to peace building and how opportunities for collaboration. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, good day,
Yes,
ladies and gentlemen. Okay, all right.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
All right. I want to thank the organizers of this program for this opportunity to share with all the participants what the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps is doing in shaping peace in Nigeria. Um, I will try my best to give an overview of what we are doing as an organization, but I will narrow it down to what my units in particular have been doing in the area of peace building. A lot of Nigerians know that the NSCDC Act was passed in 2003. But what they fail to know is that NSCDC as an organization came into existence during the Civil War. The whole idea of NSCDC was to help to protect the civil populace during the Civil War. That was how it started. It was called the Lagos Civil Defense Committee at that time. But looking at the responsibility, the scope of the Corps was expanded in 2003 when the Act was passed. In the 2003 Act, as amended in 2007, the Corps was saddled with a lot of responsibilities. But I will mention particularly a few of them that are particularly of interest as related to what we're discussing about today. One of the core functions of the Corps is to provide necessary warning for the population during times of danger. Another is to monitor, investigate, and take necessary steps to forestall acts of terrorism and report the same to appropriate federal security agency, and of course, to other stakeholders. And then lastly, another point of interest is that the Corps have power to arrange and mediate in the settlement of disputes among willing members of the public. Now, what have we been doing to build peace as an organization? One of the things that we've been doing to shape peace in Nigeria, among so many others, is that as an organization, we contain protests and riots. When there's any acts of protest, acts of riots, the NSCDC as an organization is always fully involved to ensure that this protest does not go out of hand, trying to make sure that everything is done according to the law, that there's no breakdown of law and order. Also, NSCDC have been very much involved in the Northeast due to the terrorism and insurgency issues we've been having in the Northeast. And personnel have been very, very involved, trying to secure place of worship. In fact, we secure schools after the Dapchi incidents. NSCDC have been very much involved in sending our armed men to secure schools, secondary schools. I think that was last year or so. We sent about 250 personnel to Yobe State, in the state, about secondary schools in Borno State, and 400 to Adamawa State. So we've been highly involved. Not only that, NSCDC has also been involved in working in the communities. Any community that is liberated by the soldiers, NSCDC always go there to try to ensure that the insurgents don't have a way coming back to those communities. We'll try our best to make sure that there's peace in those communities. Not only that, the NSCDC has been very much involved in interagency summit, interagency security summit. We all know that one problem we have, especially among the junior officers, is this interagency rivalry. When we go for operations, you see either men of the police force and men of the NSCDC or the police force and the army having these conflicts. But we've been organizing this interagency security summit in all the geopolitical zones of the country. We started in 2015 thereabout, and we've been going from one geopolitical zone to the other, organizing this summit and making our security agencies realize that there's a need for us to work together. We try to pass the message that no one security agency is self-sufficient. We need to work together if we want to have peace in the country. Established the Agro Rangers unit. One major source of conflicts in this country have been between the herders and the farmers. And we, as an organization, we came up with this Agro Rangers unit. And their work is to stay in the bush with the farmers and with the herders to ensure that the farmers don't have any form of conflict with the herders. We ensure that the herders will not carry their cattle into the farms, destroying the try to do it with also missions of the herders. So that is the work of the Agro Rangers unit. We, as an organization, we've been organizing peace dialogue at different times and in different places. I remember that was in 2016. We organized the peace dialogue in Benue State between farmers and herders, where we all sat down together on a round table, trying to know what the issues are and how we could help them to resolve these issues. In Gombe State in 2014, we organized one for people in the Northeast. And the idea of that round table was to know what we could do or how we could come in to help in protecting lives and property in the Northeast. Then not only that, the core have what we call the Peace and Conflict Management Unit in all the 774 local government areas in Nigeria. Now, this unit is saddled with a lot of responsibilities. As a unit, we use what we call alternative dispute resolution (ADR) method to try to resolve conflicts among parties. We have been involved in several issues or several matters of settled land disputes. We've settled chieftaincy tussles. We've settled community disputes. We've handled marital disputes. In fact, we can't count. Like in the FCT, on the average, we settle more than 50 marital disputes annually. We handle financial disputes, religious disputes, ethnic disputes, and political disputes. Anything that is any form of disputes, we try to settle. In 2018, the Peace and Conflict Management Unit of the Corps went to a community around, I think, City Gates called Waru Community. We went there to settle the dispute between herders and farmers. And they were able to bring a peaceful resolution to the crisis they were having in that community. In 2017, we also went to another community called Ruga Community. We also handled settled the dispute also there between herders and farmers. All this happened in the FCT. So as a unit, the Peace and Conflict Management Unit have been seriously involved in shaping peace in the country, where we use what we call mediation, where we sit down with these people who know what your issues are. We ask you what you want, you let us know your demands, and then we do all we can to broker peace and to ensure that there's a peaceful coexistence. And then during this COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, as we're all aware, there were lots of cases of sexual-based violence. Lots and lots and lots of them were being reported on a daily basis. The units, also with the gender unit, were also highly involved in handling gender-based violence cases that were brought to the office, and the ones that needed to be prosecuted were investigated and then taken to court. The ones that we felt that, well, could be resolved, maybe between the husband and the wife, where there are conflicts or disagreements that we see that, if not properly handled, could degenerate. We did all we could to make sure that they are properly resolved. So as a core, we've been doing our best based on the mandate given to us by the federal government to ensure that there's peace, not just in the FCT where we are at the moment where I am speaking from, but all over the federation, because we have a network. Whatever we are doing in the FCT is what we do in all the other states of the federation. I want to conclude by saying that the management of NSCDC have been very, very supportive. I want to appreciate the management of the corps, particularly our Commandant General, who has been very, very supportive, providing us with all we need to carry out our duties. And of course, we've not been working alone. We've been working with a lot of other organizations that have been helping us, like the UNDP, like CAS, and so many other organizations have been supporting us. Of course, like Oliver Twist, we always ask for more because we have so much that we would like to do, but we have limited resources. So we want to also use the opportunity to ask for more sponsorship, for more support. We need to train a lot of our men. They need more training and retraining. I believe that this will be a very good forum. So let the participants know that when there's such opportunities, they should carry the NSCDC along so that we can train our men, so that they will be better equipped to discharge these duties. I want to particularly thank the Center for Peace and Environmental Justice for having us at this occasion. I want to thank you very much for listening and have a very nice deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, SP Samuel Ijoko. Thank you very much for your very detailed presentation on the work that the NSCDC is doing across the country. I was particularly delighted to be informed about the fact that, you know, the NSCDC was actually set up during the Civil War. I didn't know about that before. And that's a great information I'm learning. I'm also learning about the fact that you have a unit of the country that is who is going to be talking to us about how media can influence the peace narrative. She's talking to us about how media can influence the peace narrative. Mercy Ebute is the CEO of Peace Talk with Mercy. Mercy, please, you can go ahead now. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Please, I would like to know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Mercy, but it's
okay. Happy International Peace Day to every participant of this event.
Thank you.
It's a privilege to be here at this event put together by Center for Peace and Environmental Justice. It's an honor. I count it a huge privilege to be doing this. Mostly that I'll be talking about a topic that I'm very passionate about. I also want to say well done to all the speakers already who spoke about how they're shaping peace, using their platforms. Thank you for the work we are doing. I believe that it will all have a peaceful country. Thank you so much, CEPEJ. Okay, so briefly, I'll be talking about the rules of media to shape peace or to shape a positive, peace narrative. Like I was introduced, my name is Mercy Ebute, and I host a talk show on social media called Peace Talk with Mercy. I found that there was a need for the voices of peace to, be heightened or increased, on that space of social media, because the media plays a very key role in ensuring that we have peace and ensuring that whatever any time we see concerning conflict and war is being, quenched. And in 2015, there was a lot of agitation on social media concerning Nigerian, dividing, or Nigeria was going to disintegrate in 2016. People came on social media and they used their platforms to, carry out all kinds of, divisive messages, saying things like they are tired of Nigeria, attacking each other. And unfortunately, it was an election year, so people were really at each other's necks. People were had party, opposing each other, partisan members, opposing each other. So all kinds of war was fought on social media. So as an individual, as a very concerned Nigeria, I thought there was a need to douse the tension. So I began to talk about peace using my social media platform. Like we all know, the media is a very strong tool when it comes to shaping our thinking and molding our minds. And I would like to quote Albert Einstein when he said that peace is not kept by force, but peace is kept by achieved through understanding. There is a knowledge and understanding about peace that people need to hear. If not, we'll continue in our violence and, conflict. We continue to have conflict and violence, and if not properly managed, will lead to war. So it's very important that we share these messages using our social media platforms. Reports also show that on a daily basis, about 30 million messages go out, every minute on Facebook, 30 million messages. And then 350 tweets go out on Twitter every minute, every day, every week, every minute. We have messages coming out there. People are trying to, communicate whatever they think. And I wonder how many of those messages, will build peace. Knowing that the media is a way of, building mindset and shaping thinking and molding our thoughts. If we are not there, with the message of peace, then violence will continue to be a part of what we have in our communities and in our nation. And we hear it all the time on the media. Things happen. They say people go to the media to express anger because everybody has a phone now. Everybody can afford at least 200 naira data. So these are the kinds of intervention we do at Peace Talk with Mercy. So one of the ways we do share peace messages on social media is just to throw out quotes. And that was how Peace Talk with Mercy. When I saw the tension